Part 1, Psychological Phenomenon, Overthinking and Self-Punishment, where reason is distorted. Overthinking when thought becomes a prison, not a tool. Overthinking is not the same as deep thinking. It is not wisdom. It is fear in disguise. Overthinking is what happens when thought becomes obsessive, when we loop the same questions, scenarios, and regrets, hoping that thinking more will make us feel safer. But the truth is, the more we overthink, the less we act, and the more powerless we feel. At its root, overthinking is about control. We try to control the future by anticipating every outcome. We try to rewrite the past by replaying it endlessly. We try to shield ourselves from judgment by obsessively crafting every word, every step, every gesture. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Only concern yourself with what is within your control. Epictetus. Overthinking violates that principle, because most of what we dwell on, other people's opinions, the future's uncertainty, the past's irreversibility, is beyond our power. When you overthink, you abandon the present, where your power actually resides, and get lost in imagined scenarios that can neither be resolved nor relived. A Stoic would say, this is not reflection, it's rumination. And rumination is not reason, it's anxiety with a mask on. Self-punishment, guilt masquerading as moral responsibility. Another common trap of the modern mind is self-punishment. Not accountability, not genuine remorse, but emotional self-flagellation. When we mess up, instead of course-correcting with clarity, we spiral into shame. We punish ourselves with harsh inner criticism. We replay our failures and insist we deserve to feel bad. At first glance, this may seem moral, but it's not. It's ego, wounded and turning inward. It's not, I made a mistake, I'll learn. It's, I made a mistake, so I must suffer. It's not virtue, it's vanity. A hidden belief that through suffering we can somehow redeem or control the situation. But guilt is not justice. And punishing yourself does not undo the past, it only paralyzes the present. True Stoic ethics doesn't dwell in self-hatred. It dwells in moral clarity. Acknowledge the wrong, correct course, and move on with purpose. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Epictetus' self-punishment is not a moral correction, it's a distorted judgment. The belief that feeling miserable is the same as being ethical. It's not. Both are symptoms of an undisciplined ego and signs of inner division. Overthinking and self-punishment are both, at their core, signs of a fragmented inner life. They arise when emotion overwhelms reason, when the soul, as the Stoics would say, is in disorder. In Stoic terms, this is pathos, a disturbance of the soul caused by false beliefs and unchecked emotions. A divided mind cannot lead itself. It is pulled in opposite directions. One part wants peace, the other clings to control. One part seeks wisdom, the other seeks approval. One part yearns for clarity, the other fears consequence. Marcus Aurelius warns us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you overthink or punish yourself, you surrender that power. You give your mind over to fear, regret, or pride. The Stoic path is not about suppressing these emotions, but realigning them under reason's guidance. To feel regret is natural. To act wisely in response, that is Stoic. To fear uncertainty is human. To face it with courage, that is Stoic. The disciplined mind doesn't overthink. It reflects, decides, and acts. The disciplined soul doesn't self-punish. It takes responsibility, corrects, and proceeds with dignity. In both cases, the goal is not Part 2, Stoicism. Focus only on what is within your control. Epictetus. Some things are up to us and some things are not. Knowing the difference is wisdom. This single sentence, if truly understood, is enough to transform a life. At the heart of Stoicism lies a razor-sharp division. What is within your control? What is not? Everything else flows from this insight. Overthinking violates this principle completely. It's an attempt to mentally control what is ultimately beyond you. The future, the past, other people's opinions, every possible outcome. You can't predict what someone else will think. You can't change what has already happened. You can't plan your way out of uncertainty. Yet the overthinker tries. Through mental rehearsal, repeated analysis, and hypothetical what-ifs, we try to feel safe. But this attempt to control the uncontrollable doesn't reduce anxiety, it feeds it. Similarly, self-punishment is an emotional repetition of pain, as if dragging guilt through each day can somehow make the past more just. But punishing yourself does not change the past. It only prolongs your suffering. It's irrational, but worse, it's useless. And Stoicism is deeply pragmatic. It doesn't ask, what should I feel? It asks, is this useful? Is this within my power to act upon? And if not, let it go. This is what Epictetus teaches. Freedom is found in the discipline of attending only to what you truly command, your own mind, your own choices, your own actions. Marcus Aurelius, you are not harmed by events, but by your judgment about them. This is perhaps one of the most misunderstood and most liberating ideas in all of Stoicism. You are not broken by what happened to you. You are disturbed by what you believe it means. This is why two people can experience the same event and respond in entirely different ways. Because it's not the event itself that wounds, it's the interpretation, it's the story you tell yourself. Overthinking is the result of a faulty narrative. If I don't get it right, I'll be a failure. If they don't like me, I'm worthless. If I had done this differently, everything would be better now. These aren't facts, they're judgments, and judgments can be changed. When Marcus says it is not events that disturb us, he reminds us that peace is an internal discipline, not a product of external circumstances. Even pain, failure, or public embarrassment can be faced with composure if we refuse to exaggerate their meaning. Self-punishment, too, stems from irrational judgment. I must suffer because I made a mistake. I don't deserve to be happy until I make up for the past. But Stoic justice is not rooted in guilt. It is rooted in right action here and now. The moment you correct your behavior, the moment you commit to live rightly again, you are free. There is no need to bleed further for what's already done. Seneca puts it plainly, no man can have a peaceful life who thinks too much about lengthening it or resents the past. The Stoic does not rewrite the past. He learns from it. He does not dread the future. He prepares for it. And most importantly, the Stoic does not torture himself with what cannot be changed. He invests his energy where it can make a difference, his own choices, values, and reasoned action. Overthinking and self-punishment are not signs of seriousness. They are signs of misplaced focus. They are what happen when we forget where our true agency lies. When we try to control the uncontrollable, we suffer. When we take full ownership of our own reason, judgment, and action, we are free. That is the Stoic way. Let go of the illusion of control. Embrace the reality of responsibility, and in doing so, return to the only part 3. Self-torment is a form of vanity. Seneca, the greatest sin is to think you cannot sin. At first glance, self-blame looks like humility. A person beats themselves up, apologizes endlessly, feels unworthy, and we assume it's because they care, because they're ethical. But Stoicism sees through this performance. The one who constantly self-criticizes or who refuses to forgive themselves is not necessarily humble. More often, they're trapped in a subtle form of arrogance. Seneca's warning is clear. To think you are above error is the gravest error of all. Perfectionists and chronic self-punishers often begin with an unconscious belief. I should be better than this. I should be flawless. I should always know what to do. And when reality reminds them they are human, imperfect, emotional, uncertain, they don't accept it. They turn on themselves. But here's the paradox. Even that self-inflicted suffering isn't about responsibility. It's about pride. It's the ego saying, I'm too special to make this kind of mistake. That's not ethics. That's delusion. True humility, the kind valued by Stoicism, is the quiet, unflinching recognition of your fallibility. It doesn't scream, how could I have failed? It calmly asks, what can I learn from this? The person who torments themselves for every slip isn't morally superior. They are refusing to accept the one fact that defines us all. We will get it wrong. Often, and that's okay if we respond wisely. Self-punishment is the ego saying, I'm too important to be allowed to make a mistake. To a Stoic, this is absurd. You are a human being, Epictetus might say. What else did you expect? Mistakes are not a violation of your worth. They are a part of your nature. No one is born with perfect wisdom. No one lives without contradiction. So why should you hold yourself to a divine standard? It's not virtue that keeps you locked in cycles of guilt, it's ego. And ego loves to disguise itself, sometimes as false modesty, sometimes as moral idealism, but always with the same effect, separation from reality. The Stoic does not excuse wrongdoing, but they do reject the fantasy of moral purity. They know that wisdom is forged through failure, not in spite of it, that self-mastery comes from falling and getting back up again and again with reason as your guide. To stumble is not to fall forever, Marcus Aurelius might remind you, unless you refuse to rise. When you keep punishing yourself for a past mistake, you're not becoming better. You're avoiding the real work, taking responsibility, correcting course, and moving forward. And worse, you might be indulging in a kind of emotional self-importance, as if your sorrow is more meaningful than your integrity, as if your guilt matters more than your present actions. This is not stoic, it's not useful, it's not rational, and it's not necessary. No one is above error, and no one deserves lifelong punishment for a moment of weakness. The stoic path is not one of perfection, it is one of realism, reason, and renewal. You made a mistake, so does everyone. You feel regret? Good, it means you care, but now move on, with clarity, with courage, with calm. Because in the eyes of a Stoic, your worth is not measured by how flawlessly you live, but by how swiftly you return to living by reason when flaws inevitably appear. Let go of the pride that says you must be perfect. Let go of the punishment that says you are unworthy, and return to what matters, living rightly, here and now. Part 4. Overthinking as a form of resistance to reality. Epictetus, it's not events that harm us, but our judgment about them. To overthink is not to think deeply. It is to repeat, ruminate, and replay, driven not by insight, but by anxiety. Overthinking traps the mind in two places it cannot touch: the past, which is already gone, the future, which has not yet arrived. Both are beyond control, yet the overthinker refuses to let go. They ask, what if I had done that differently? What if something bad happens tomorrow? Why did I say that? What will they think of me? These aren't questions of reflection. They are symptoms of resistance, resistance to what is. And for the Stoic, that resistance is irrational, because only the present is real. Only the present can be acted upon. Only the present can be lived. Epictetus makes this precise. It is not the thing itself that troubles us, but the judgment we form of it. Overthinking is not just mental noise, it's the result of distorted judgments. You assume the worst, you project meanings that don't exist, you give power to shadows and phantoms. You suffer not from life, but from how you think about life. Marcus Aurelius, the present is all you have. Live reasonably within it. To overthink is to abandon the moment. It is, quite literally, a withdrawal from reality, a retreat into fantasy, memory, or imagined disaster. And the cost is not just stress. The cost is your life, slipping by while you're lost in mental loops. Marcus Aurelius, writing to himself in Meditations, returns again and again to this core Stoic command: be here now, judge wisely, then act. That is the Stoic model. Perceive clearly, discern what is within your control, act according to reason. It is not obsess over what could have been, worry about what may go wrong. Rehearse every possible version of reality except the one you're living in. Overthinking is not prudence, it is paralysis. It disguises itself as preparation, but delays action. It pretends to be care, but creates chaos. It looks like intelligence, but is rooted in fear. And fear for the Stoic is a signal. You are no longer ruled by reason, you are now ruled by emotion. So how do the Stoics respond? They return to judgment. They ask, is this thought helpful? Is this within my control? Does this align with virtue? And if the answer is no, they dismiss it. Not with force, not with anger, but with calm clarity, as a surgeon removes what does not belong. If it's not right, don't do it, Marcus said. If it's not true, don't say it. And if it's not within your power, don't dwell on it. Overthinking is not a sign of a deep mind. It is the product of a scattered one. A Stoic mind is not overwhelmed, it is ordered. Not numb, but clear. Not impulsive, but deliberate. You cannot think your way into peace. But you can choose what thoughts to keep. That is your power, that is your practice. And it begins always by coming back to now, not to the mistake you made, not to the fear of tomorrow, but to this breath, this moment, this action. Overthinking is resistance to life. Stoicism is alignment with it, so judge well, then move forward, not perfectly, but presently. Part 5. Stoicism and the principle of logos. Reason as the weapon for letting go. Logos, the universal principle that governs order and lives within you. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a concept both cosmic and personal: logos. It is the rational structure of the universe, the underlying order, the divine intelligence woven into all things. But it is also present within you, as your capacity to reason, to understand, to act with clarity. To live in harmony with logos is to live in harmony with the truth. And yet, when you overthink or when you punish yourself with guilt and regret, you have stepped away from it. You have turned your back on the inner logos, that quiet voice of discernment and proportion. Logos doesn't obsess, it doesn't dramatize, it doesn't spiral, it observes, it reflects, and then it chooses with calm, deliberate intent. To overthink is to let emotion hijack logic. To self-punish is to let ego pretend it's virtue. Neither are aligned with logos. The Stoic, by contrast, keeps returning to it, not as dogma, but as orientation, not as cold calculation, but as equilibrium, a deep trust in reason's ability to cut through distortion. In a world governed by chaos and impulse, logos is the thread of order you must hold on to. And to grasp it is to remember, you are not your emotions, you are not your fears, you are the one who can observe them, judge them, and let them pass. Letting go is not surrender, it is the return to rational equilibrium. There is a common misunderstanding that to let go is weakness, that to stop thinking about something means you're avoiding responsibility, that to forgive yourself is to stop holding yourself accountable. This is false, and it is exactly the kind of illusion logos clears away. To the Stoics, letting go is not abandonment of responsibility, it is a return to clarity. It is not giving up, it is reclaiming what you can actually control. As Marcus Aurelius put it, if it's not under your control, don't waste your mind on it. That is not apathy. That is focus. The world is full of things that provoke reaction, an outcome you couldn't prevent, a mistake you made and already learned from, an opinion someone holds about you. You can choose to ruminate, to loop the memory, to replay the failure, to guess what others are thinking. Or you can choose logos. You can say, this is not useful, this doesn't help, this is not within my domain. I release it, not because I don't care, but because I care about using my mind properly. Letting go, then, is not passive. It is a disciplined act of mental hygiene. It is the Stoic cleansing fire, burning away what's irrational, what's emotional, what's unworthy of your inner peace. It is an act of freedom, because when you stop clinging to what lies outside your control, you begin to experience what it means to truly be free. Free from the noise of opinion, free from the chains of perfection, free from the need to rewrite the past or predict the future. Logos does not demand that you silence your emotions. It asks only that you do not obey them blindly. Part 6. Freedom from useless thoughts is a moral journey. Seneca, have the courage to live, not just to die. Letting go of overthinking isn't easy. It never is. But it is not a matter of convenience. It is a moral demand, a question of how we choose to live our one brief life. In a world obsessed with hyper-analysis and self-doubt, the decision to stop obsessing, to stop mentally punishing yourself, is an act of moral courage. Seneca, ever blunt in his wisdom, reminded us, anyone can endure a moment of death, but few are brave enough to endure the demands of daily life with clarity. To let go of useless thoughts is not merely a mental trick, it's a commitment to lucid living. To live without hiding behind rumination. To face the reality of what is, not what might have been. To move forward, even when the past still whispers its regrets. This clarity, this refusal to be hijacked by inner noise, is not the absence of depth. It is the very expression of strength. It is saying, I have better things to give my life to than these broken loops of thought. It is Stoic maturity. Marcus Aurelius, be like the rock against which the waves crash unmoved and they fall still around you. Your mind will want to react, to fear the worst, to dwell on what you said yesterday, to obsess over how you were perceived. This is natural, but not necessary. Marcus Aurelius knew this well. He lived under immense pressure, as emperor, as a father, as a human being burdened with both public duty and private sorrow. And yet he wrote to himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. You are not the wave. You are the rock. The chaos of life may crash into you, but you do not need to crash within yourself. Let the emotion rise. Let the fear whisper. Let the regret murmur, and let it pass without becoming it. This is not indifference. It is discipline. It is not suppression. It is command. The Stoic remains steady, not because they feel nothing, but because they are anchored in something deeper than feeling, in reason, in virtue, in perspective. Letting go is an active moral decision, not a passive resignation. To stop overthinking is not to give up, it is to reclaim authority over your inner life. It is not a shrug of apathy. It is a sharp, deliberate choice. I will no longer be led by chaotic emotions that do not serve me. I will no longer waste my energy trying to undo the unchangeable. I will not let my mind become a prison of rehearsed guilt and imagined disasters. This is not detachment out of defeat. It is detachment out of discipline. Stoicism does not ask you to feel led, it asks you to choose better judgments, better use of time, better alignment with your values. Letting go, in the Stoic view, is a moral act because it affirms a deeper truth, that your life is too valuable to be consumed by what you cannot control. It affirms that you will live intentionally, not reactively, that you will act from the rational self, not the anxious self, that you will serve the present, not the ghosts of the past or fears of the future. To let go is to say, I am not my thoughts. I am the one who chooses which thoughts deserve my attention. This is the essence of Stoic inner freedom.